Tuesday, May 3rd. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Amy Core, and I'm joined by Kevin Van Eck, and we're live out of the Goose Island office. So the market is still pretty busy and pretty chaotic out there. So this morning, Kevin and I want to jump into a few things you can think about in supporting your buyers. So grab your coffee, your tea, whatever it is you're drinking this morning, and let's jump into the next episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
That's right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Like Amy said, the market's still crazy. So we wanted to share today how we have to rethink when we're working with buyers. And that means when we're negotiating on their behalf, but even before that, when we begin working with buyers and setting expectations. Recently, Black Swan Group, led by ex-FBI negotiator Chris Voss and negotiation expert, they shared some tips that we can use in real estate when we're working with our buyers in this market. And we wanted to share those with you today.
That's right, Kevin. So the first thing that we want to talk about in representing your buyers is that you need to acknowledge that the market has changed, right? The market from a couple of years ago where we could use data, where we could sit down and really look at comps and be able to put together a very thoughtful offer for a seller, that's changed. Now we are in a very, very tight market where there's not a lot of inventory, and we have to recognize that a lot of emotion is at play. A lot of this comes down to how much is this house going to be something that's amazing for a buyer and they're willing to pay for it. So think about it. The market's changed, so now you're going to have to adjust how you're working with your buyers in order to create success.
And the second is setting new expectations with our buyers. We know that right now, buyers are going to pay more for less. Whether it's because of the appreciation or interest rates or both, we know that buyers are going to pay more. We need to feel out our buyers' willingness and readiness to be able to do that. And we need to understand when we're communicating with our buyers about what the market is like that they're about to hop into, we need to feel out and make sure that they are prepared to enter into the market to win. Because ultimately, the best way to win is by offering more than anybody else with all of their terms equal.
That's right. And then to kind of add to that, the thing that you need to really think about is having empathy for your buyers right now. This is not an easy market to be a buyer in, but the reality is that it's not slowing down anytime soon. So if a buyer really wants to get into the market and be a homeowner, they're going to have to bite. They're going to have to jump and move forward, and they're going to probably have to get uncomfortable and, run into some really stressful situations. So having empathy and thinking about what it's like to be in their shoes right now and making sure you take the time to have dialogues and really make sure that they're comfortable with what they're paying for the home and not to just get caught up in the race. They've got to feel good, because what you don't want is buyer's remorse in a couple years down the road feeling like they paid too much. So you want to make sure that you're really helping them understand the market they're in and some of the compromises that they're going to have to make. And the only other thing too is, even if you feel like the property in your mind isn't worth it, we have to recognize this market has changed, and maybe something that was worth $150,000 less a couple years ago now is going for what is new market value. So don't get your own opinions in the way. So be empathetic and make sure that you talk through it with your clients.
And lastly, in the same line, empathy means that we're not going to push. Remember, we're all about attracting, not pushing. We need to make sure that our clients understand that we understand, and every buyer is not going to be willing to jump into the market and move forward. You've likely heard it, we've heard it, but we have buyers that are saying they're going to wait for the market to fall. They're going to wait for values to come down. Even though we're predicting that that's not going to happen, we have to understand where they're coming from. And we want to work with them in the future when they are ready. If we're pushing now, we're not going to be able to have that opportunity because we've made them uncomfortable in this market.
All right, so check out the newsletter this week and look for all of these tips, and then share with us. Let us know how it's going for you and your buyers out there. We want to hear your comments, and we also want to hear your success stories. So make sure to subscribe to Coffee on YouTube. And until we see you next Tuesday, remember, you got this.